Hey everyone, Dinuka here. In this video, I'm going to give you a quick overview to pipelines and how to get started with pipelines with some real-world scenarios. There's going to be a couple more videos in pipelines to come up after this, simply because it's quite a big feature and there's a lot to cover in this. But I'm going to give you everything that you need today to get started with pipelines and to actually start using that in your business. So in NinjaPipe, I'll make myself a little smaller here. I'll put myself over here. If you go to the pipelines option over here, you'll be greeted with something like this. So essentially, this is your overview page for all of your pipelines. You can have multiple pipelines at the same time. Now, what is a pipeline? Pipeline is essentially a Kanban view with different swim lanes that you can drag certain things over. Now, for example, in a real world scenario, this would be something like a hiring pipeline. For example, you want to have different candidates move from interview stage to hired stage, or you can have leads. For example, new leads who are coming from an ad, you want to move them across to a booked meeting stage. You can track when they have a meeting coming up, or you can track when they convert. You can actually apply this to quite a lot of things. Like, for example, I'll give you a little overview as to what I have here, a little example. Now, pipeline actually looks something like this. You got different swim lanes. You can add as many as you want. You can mark a certain stage as 1. This allows you to track when a deal is closed, or if a candidate is hired, for example, or different types of end stages for your processes within the business. You can have a lost stage as well. Now, lost stage means you pretty much dropped this particular item from being proceeded forward with. For example, a lead who will not close and essentially unqualified, or you don't wanna, or you lost the deal. That's sort of where that lands. And then you can have different types of values attached to different stages as well. So this allows you to track the value of an item and things like that. Now I'll go back a little bit. I'll show you how to create a pipeline. If you click on this button over here, you will be greeted with 3 types of pipelines: general pipelines, people pipelines, and deal pipelines. Now, what's the difference? It's essentially the same feature, but what differs is what fields you have in each item, right? Now, for example, if you're going for something like a general purpose thing, like tracking tasks within a business, like projects and things like that, general pipeline is great, because you don't really have a monetary value for those things. You just want to track the progress of something. But if it's something like hiring or leads and things like that, or like a sales process, people pipelines are great for this, because you can literally see the contact and who's working on this, like the sales rep who's working on this lead, and the monetary value of this and things like that. If it's a deal, like you don't want to attach it to a single person, and it's more of like a company, like a deal, essentially like an umbrella deal that's having a lot of people involved, deals are great, right? Deal pipelines are great for that. So I'll go with something like people pipeline for this one, and I'll call this, I'm typing with one hand, by the way, I'll call this leads from IG, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead with the default pipeline stages here. You can go ahead and add new stages if you like, and then create this pipeline. So when you do, you greet with this empty pipeline, and you can also customize all of these. For example, I'm just going to call this new leads and hit save. And by the way, you can also customize the color over here. You can make this a different color. And same for this. Qualified is great. I think I'll keep that. I'll say meeting booked for this one, and I'll make this blue. Oh, actually, I've got a blue already. I'll just make this pink. Save this, and converted is great. I'll also add another stage saying unqualified. Man, it's hard to type with one hand. Unqualified. So I'll just call this unqualified, make it red, hit save. Right. Now I've got my stages set up. The next thing you gotta usually do, is go to settings and then customize a few more things. You can go to pipelines. I'll show you a couple of things in here. Now, remember what I told you about one stage and lost stage earlier. Here's how you configure that. If you actually mark the one stage on the actual success stage of your pipeline, that'll be considered the final stage for that particular item. For example, in my case, it's converted. Converted is where I want to track the successful ending for an item, the life cycle for an item. Unqualified is my lost stage. That's where I essentially stop chasing this particular item. So I'm going to mark these two. The reason for doing that, I'll show you in a few seconds, a few minutes, you can actually track the close rate, like the conversion rate as a percentage if you mark these two. So it's pretty valuable if you use it for some sort of tracking, some sort of analytics within your business, like sales conversions and things like that. There are a couple more changes here that you can make to your pipeline. For example, you can display the stage counts, like how many items are in a stage. Pretty valuable, so I'll always toggle this on as well. I also turn on values if it's like something, if it's a pipeline that has monetary value attached to it. So go ahead and turn that on as well. You can also customize some of these things about it. Next thing that I can actually show you is probability. So if you want to attach certain probabilities to stages, like for example, if it's a new lead, probability of closing will be maybe like 5%, qualified maybe like 20. Oh, that's pretty high. But meeting booked, it could be like 40. And if you really trust your sales reps, you can really bump that up. Yeah, because you know that if they jump on a meeting, they get closed. And then converted will be 100%. So you can turn this on as well. And then card display is essentially what your cards will display. So you can turn off some of these things if you turn this on, and they will sort of give you a little preview as well. So you can add these extra details, hide some of these things if you like. So that's sort of the customization that you can do. I'll leave that to you to sort of explore. It's very simple. But I'll look at stale here. Now with stale setting, you can actually mark certain stages with stale days. Like for example, new leads, if you want your sales reps to immediately talk to them, you can set the stale to be like 1 day and critically stale to be like 2 days. Like for example, if a lead lands on your new leads column, and if someone hasn't spoken to them or there's no activity on that, it becomes stale after 1 day. And it's going to show that as well. It becomes critically stale if nobody talks to them for like 2 days. That's essentially what I've configured here. Same thing over here. Maybe I'll give a little bit more space here for the sales reps. Meeting booked, maybe 1 day, like becomes critically stale after 2 days. So this allows you and your sales teams to really look at it and see which leads are going stale and what we need to immediately do to fix that. And then there are a couple more things that you can do for permissions and column orders. So I think that covers pretty much the most important things for your pipeline. So with these in place, you'll see that it's actually showing the monetary values. I'll go ahead and add some leads. So I will add someone from my contact, myself, and I can use the contact name as the title as well. I'll go ahead and add a priority high, and I'll say this lead is worth $5,000. I'll assign it to one of my team members as well. And then I can set a due date for this lead as well, for example. That's pretty far in the future, so I'll make it 23rd. And you can add attachments, maybe some tags, and add that item. So when you do that, you can immediately see the stage also calculates the lead's value, and that is marked here. So now I mentioned the conversion rate earlier, so I'll show you how important that is for sales teams. So if you go over here, you'll see my stages show up here, and the conversion is 0. I'll go back in here. I'll drag this to my 1 stage. If I drag this to my 1 stage and go back, you'll see that the conversion is now at 100%. Now this is great to actually have a bird's eye view of how much of a conversion you have in your pipelines, and that's great for like sales or anything people or deals or monetary involved. That's really great to have. So that's the reason that I added that over there. This should get you started with pipelines. There's going to be a couple more videos that's going to come out with regarding pipelines and essentially automations with pipelines as well. This should get you started with pipelines right now. But I'm going to give you a quick overview as to how automations work. So if you head over here, I'll give you a little shortcut to create automations very easily with no technical experience needed. You'll see a little robot icon over here. If you click that, it's going to show you some triggers related to pipelines. Like for example, this particular automation will kick off if an item is added to a certain pipeline, or when an item is updated, or when an item moves to a different stage, and you can mark which stage that is, or when an item is won or lost. Now this is great if you want to track when a deal closes. You can kick off like an email or like a Teams comms message, or you can do a couple more things. As you can see, there's a bunch of actions that you can kick off when an automation triggers. There's a lot that we keep adding every day as well. Like for example, in this case, I'm just going to notify my team, and then I'm going to send an in-app notification to all my team members, and maybe I will create an invoice, right? I'll just go ahead and hit next and click create automation. Now look what happens. You don't have to do anything. NinjaPipe will create all the automations for you and you'll just be landed there. All you have to do is just fill out all the information on the actions. Like for example, which channel that you want to shoot this message to, the webhook for that, and some of the dynamic parameters can be included here. Like for example, like the item's name, like item value maybe can be included in this message, and you can type out some message over here and then you can hit save. Same thing for these things as well. I'm going to go in depth into automations related to pipelines in my next video, but this should get you started with pipelines pretty much right now. So if you have any questions, please put it down in the comments. I'll try and cover that in one of the videos that's going to come out. I'm going to have videos coming out in the next couple of days, continuously pretty much covering all of these things related to NinjaPipe. So thanks so much guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification button if you want to be notified for all the new NinjaPipe videos. Thanks so much. It's Dinuka. I'll catch you in the next one.